Hi, this is Kara from Club Pilates in McKinney. We are going to do a foam roller release from toe to head of your body. If you have any injuries, issues, conditions, concerns that might make this not appropriate for you, please don't do this. I realize my letters are probably backwards. If you have any contraindications to foam rolling, this may not be appropriate for you, or some body parts may not be able for you. I'm going to use a TriggerPoint Grid roller, the myofascial ball. If you have a long foam roller, that works as well. I'm going to be on an elevated table for camera purposes, but you can do this on the floor, works pretty good. Tennis ball, lacrosse ball, a foot special gadget roller. If you have a larger myofascial ball, this would work instead of a roller for most of the body parts as well. I'm going to start with a small roller, and we're going to go right into the foot. You could do this seated if you need it a little bit nicer. I'm going to put this ball on the floor. You may or may not be able to see my foot, I'm not sure, but I'm going to start with the ball of the foot on the roller right below the bones. We're going to break each body part into two zones, furthest from the heart, closer to the heart. So right below the bones of my foot, I'm going to roll that ball halfway up my arch and back. Breathe in and out, you guys, as you do this. Please don't hold your breath. This has a high incidence of hold your breath class though. We're going to do that about 4 times, and then I want you to find the most tender spot on that top half of your foot and give it a little squash, like you're squashing a bug or a grape or a ball. And you do that about 4 times as well. And we're going to roll to the back of the foot and back to the middle of the foot. I like to go along the inside of my arch a little bit because that's where I get more tenderness. Some muscles run and connect down there as well as the plantar fascia. So you're trying to find your tender spots and then give them a little release. So now you find that most tender spot there and give it a little squash. So I'm just rotating my foot and leg on that ball with as much pressure as I can tolerate. And then I'm going to get off of there. You can also put your heel on the floor below the ball or behind the ball and then curl your foot toes over it and lean into it. It usually causes a little discomfort. Tippy toes in front of the ball, and then I can pull my foot down over, so I'm trying to take my arch over that ball. So if I were to show you on one of these with my hand, I'd be pulling my arch down. So we're pulling down, and then I'm going to get off of that. Now I'm going to do the other foot while I'm still standing. So right on below the ball of the foot on the other leg. So whichever leg you didn't do, start that foot. Roll halfway up your arch and back. Nice and slow. You don't want to do this super fast. That causes muscle fibers or neurons to excite and try to fire the muscle. We're trying to go slow so we can release and restore the muscle. So I did my 4 on this side, and now I'm going to squash that bug. Squash a grape, make homemade wine right now, right? Hold it there. Now roll to your heel and back to the middle of the arch. You're going to find, I'm probably going to make some faces as I do this, that this is not a very comfortable place. And then we hold right there and give it a little squash towards that back half of the arch. So again, 2 zones, 2 spots, and then get off of there. I'm going to put my heel down on the floor behind the ball, and I'm going to wrap over, like you would if you're doing footwork on the foot bar. I'm wrapping toe, prehensile, claw foot over, putting pressure on it, which causes some discomfort. Yeah. Now I'm going to put my toes on the front of it and pull my heel down over the ball, putting as much pressure as I can tolerate without making too many funny faces on this live video. All right, so done with the foot. I'm going to keep that ball where I can grab it in a little bit. We're going to go right into the calf. So with the calf, y'all, we're going to start hand width above your ankle bone so that we're on the muscle. So you don't want to be on the Achilles tendon or on the joints. You always want to be on the muscle. If you have sensitive wrists, you could have a box or footstool or something behind you to lift off of. I'm going to stay on my hands here. So I can keep my other foot, I'm doing my right leg. So my left foot can be on the floor. I'm going to roll halfway up my calf and back down. If I want more pressure, I can cross my legs, and then it goes a little bit deeper there. And again, halfway up and down about 4 times. And then I'm going to find that spot. I can keep my hips up or down depending on the pressure. And then I'm going to windshield wipe across, giving it a little span. And then from there, I'm going to go to the top half of my calf. So same thing, but going up to the top. I want to go towards the knee joint, but not into it. I always want to stay out of the joints, off of the arteries and tendons and nerves. And here's my 4th one, and then I'm going to span across that. Very good. All right. So you better be doing this with me and not just watching. I'm going to do the other leg, just going to go back and forth to make sure we get both sides in. So again, on that calf, I hand width above the heel bone, so I start on that muscle belly, and then I can roll with my foot up or legs crossed for more. You determine your amount of pressure. This other leg can be your pusher and take weight off. So there's my 4. Now I'm gonna span or windshield wiper across that. Yep, found a tender spot there. And now I'm gonna go up to the top of my calf and back down. Again, nice and slow, about an inch per second. So this should take a few seconds, right, to get up your calf and back, again, avoiding the knee joint. And then we're gonna span across it. Spanning across it. And then release there. I see some comments coming across. I'm too far away from the camera, and so I can't see them. I hope it's not a volume issue. Now I'm gonna go to the lateral side of my lower leg. So I'm gonna start a big hand width above my ankle bone, putting some pressure on that shin, sitting kind of in my mermaid Z sit. Could also be in a hurdler if your knee prefers that. And then I'm gonna roll the roller up and down a little bit, breathing. And then I'm gonna find that tender spot and I'm gonna push across it, kind of like a rolling pin, where I'm just smashing the tissue. And then I'm gonna roll to the top of that, again, avoiding that fibular head bone on this side, but rolling up to the top of my lower leg. And then here, I'm gonna give it that same little rolling pin, span across with a little bit of pressure, kind of as much as I can tolerate. I can feel some tenderness there. And then I'm gonna release that. I'm gonna do this whole lower leg and then go to the other one. So I'm gonna remove my foam roller. I'm gonna grab my little ball again. You could use a foam roller if you don't have a tennis ball or a small ball. I'm gonna run this all the way up and down the inside on the meaty part of that calf, all along that shin bone with as much pressure as I can tolerate. I call this one the search and destroy. If you find a tender spot, give it a little extra pressure for a couple seconds. Yep, and then back up and down. Breathing here, a couple more seconds. Nice. All right, and now I'm gonna do the front of the shin. So the front of the shin, you guys, we want that tibialis anterior muscle, which is responsible for pulling our toes up every time we take a step, or pushing on the gas pedal. So it's kind of a high muscle on that lateral or outside of your lower leg. So I'm gonna take that ball and I'm gonna roll it halfway up my leg and back down, trying to stay between the lateral and anterior shin bones, so between those two lower leg bones. If I find a spot there, I give it a little extra squish as well, a little circle pressure. And then I'm gonna roll it all the way up to the top and then back to that middle. Up between those bones, right where the fibula and tibia connect. And I found a tender spot there, so I'm gonna give a little extra something. And breathe, keep breathing. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing on the other leg while I already have the ball in this position. So if you need to find it, again, you can do a little toe raise to find that spot. And then I'm gonna start in that middle of the shin and roll halfway up from kind of the middle towards the top. Come a big finger to thumb, hand width above. And then I'm breathing as I push and get a little pressure. And then I'm gonna give it a little extra squish because I found a kind of tender spot there. I've been walking outside a little more when it wasn't raining. And then I'm gonna roll all the way up to the top and back down towards that middle. So again, I'm in that zone 2, or that top half of that tibialis anterior muscle on my other leg. And I found a tender spot up there high where it kind of attaches, right where they come together, where that muscle starts. Breathe, put a little extra pressure. All right, I'm gonna set the ball back to the side. Oh, no, not. I'm gonna do the calf. So I'm gonna do that soleus muscle, which is that deeper layer of the calf. And you're gonna find your sides don't match. So I'm gonna roll all the way up and down. On the meaty part of the calf, closer to my body than away from me right now. So I'm against that bone, but not on it. We always wanna roll the muscles, not the joints or bones. Found a tender spot, so I'm gonna give it a little extra squish. Again, this is that search and destroy. Breathe, you can always come back here if you need to. Find that. All right, now I'm gonna set that ball to the side, and I'm gonna do my other lateral leg. So I'm gonna go a big finger to thumb width above my ankle bone, and then I'm gonna roll up and back a little bit, halfway up and down there. And then when I find that spot, I'm gonna give it a little rolling pin push, kind of rubbing that tissue, squishing it between my bone and the foam roller. And then I'm gonna roll up to the top, again, that fibular head. If you get a little zing, you might have just hit it like a funny bone. It won't hurt you, but try not to stay there if you find that zing of a nerve. And then I'm gonna hold here and give it a little span. And there's my lower leg on both sides. So now we're gonna move up to the thigh and do the hamstring. So a hand width again above the back of your knee, so we stay off of those tendons and arteries. I'm gonna back up so I don't roll off of here. I'm gonna start with the roll there, just like we did with the calf. I can lift my hips and roll halfway up my thigh and back towards the knee. I can cross my leg for a little more, or even a little figure four if I want to get a stretch while I do it. And then when I find that spot, or pick a spot if you don't have one, a windshield wiper or span across there. And then I'm gonna hold it. Now I'm gonna roll all the way up to my sits bone. That foot, right where the thigh and the butt meet. All the way up. That bone is your stopper, like a parking block. Don't go over it. Those of you that take my class regularly, you'll know my joke. Don't go over that, you might damage your undercarriage. And then hold it and span across it. Sorry, I'm in the studio by myself. I'm entertaining myself a little bit as I do this. And releasing there. All right, we're gonna do the other hamstring. So a hand width above that knee on the other side. I'm gonna find that muscle. Again, I can have my knee bent to take some pressure off or across my legs. And I'm gonna roll nice and slow up halfway, back toward the knee. And then I'm gonna find that and I'm gonna do a little span or a little windshield wiper across, breathing. Okay, now it's time for the top. So I'm gonna go top half of the thigh, up to the hip bone or sits bone and back down. Again, crossing if I want a little more. Breathing, try to let those muscles relax the best you can so that you're getting deeper into those tissues. I'm gonna hold this one and find my tender spot and give it a little span across. And then release. Okay, so there's the back of the thigh. Now we're gonna do the front of the thigh, the quadricep. I call this one oh my quad. It can be a little tender. You won't be able to see my face, which is good on this one. We're gonna put the roller right above my knee. So I'm back to my right side. I'm gonna get in a kind of army cargo neck crawl position or a forearm plank with my other leg out towards frog for those of you that are flying peeps. And then I'm gonna roll halfway up my thigh and back down. You can turn out or in a little bit if you have tender spots, or stay right in the middle. That quad is a broad muscle. And then when I find that spot, here's the fun part. I'm gonna bend and straighten my knee a few times here. I'm gonna hold the next one in and then windshield wiper it there over that tender spot. Don't forget to breathe right here. This is where I get lots of groans when I teach this in a group setting. Straighten that leg out, and now I'm gonna roll to the hip bone and back. So I'm going to the top of the thigh. Ooh, this made me sweat. 4 times again, nice and slow, and then I'm gonna find my tender spot, and I'm gonna bend and straighten my knee, breathing. And when I get this one bent, now I go across it. You guys, I can take as much weight off as I need to with those forearms and that other leg. And then I'm gonna release that. All right, time for the other quad. So again, that roller is right above the knee on the thigh, the quadricep. My other leg is out, forearms for my pusher. Again, I can try to relax into it a little bit, and then I'm gonna roll halfway up my thigh and back towards the knee. Breathing in and out, going nice and slow. And then hold that tender spot, bend and straighten that knee, which puts a little pin and stretch on that muscle, giving us a little extra compression. And then I'm gonna hold it bent, and I'm gonna windshield wiper across it. Breathing, always breathing. And then the top. So now I'm going from the middle of my quad to my hip bone, back. Ooh, this one's more tender than the other one. And then I'm gonna hold that, and I'm gonna bend and straighten that knee of the leg that's on the roller, which pins that muscle in place and gives a little stretch while it's being pinned. Stops the blood supply for just a moment, and then it comes rushing back. And that's how we get the nutrients there to help restore the muscles and release some of the pressure within the fascia. And then I'm gonna get up to there. All right, there's my front and back of the quad. Now I'm gonna do my inner thigh. So this one's that same body position, only the roller is gonna go on the bent leg. So again, one leg kind of out to the side, and then I'm gonna lay on my other side. I'm getting to the edge of my table so I don't fall off. That leg can be straight or bent depending on your space. I'm gonna keep it straight because now I got the air here. And I'm gonna roll towards the middle of my thigh and back. So this is getting those adductors, adductors, inner thigh muscles, groin. And I'm really just shifting over and back. When I find that spot, just like we did the quad, I'm gonna bend and straighten my knee for that little pin and stretch. I'm gonna keep this one bent and I'm gonna add a little, kind of like a little reverse clamshell. Whew. And then I'm gonna straighten that leg. I gotta move my roller so I don't fall off my table. And then I'm gonna go up towards the pubic bone, back to the middle. So again, nice and slow, I'm rolling the top of that inner thigh muscle. And then I'm gonna hold here, and I'm gonna bend and straighten a few times here on that most tender spot. And then if you want, you can do that extra up and down, totally optional. It does give it a little bit extra something, something. And then release that. All right, so same thing on the other side. I'm gonna put that roller under, just above my knee on my inner thigh. And then I'm just gonna shift towards it and back. Shift towards it and back. And after this fourth one, I'm gonna find that spot. Ooh, this one's tender. You're gonna feel one side isn't always equal to the other on this stuff. And then I'm gonna hold it for that extra something, something with that little internal, external rotation, or like you're doing a little clam and reverse clam. And then staying in that middle, going up to the top and back. Whoops, again, I'm about to roll off my tail. Up towards the pubic bone, back towards the middle. Breathing. And then hold it there. Bend and straighten. And then hold and give it that windshield wiper effect. I am doing the whole body, you guys. So we're about 15 minutes in and we're almost to the waist. So we're getting there. Bear with me if you're up for it. And then get off of there. All right. Lots of different schools of thought on the IT band. You can totally roll your IT band. Most people tend to roll in or out and get the lateral quad or lateral hamstring opposed to the actual IT band. I like to roll the lateral hip instead. So the tensor fascial lata muscle, which is like your front pocket muscle, and your lateral fibers of your glute max, those together turn into the IT band. So I like to do those instead. You can totally put this below your hip and do the IT band if you want. I'm gonna stay above my hip. So I'm right above that greater trochanter hip bone, right where your hip hinges on the roller. Kind of like a forearm plank position. My top leg is my pusher and take some weight off. So I'm gonna stay slightly rotated down with my pelvis towards the floor. And I'm just gonna roll a couple inches here. This is getting that tensor fascial lata, that front pocket muscle. We work our glute medes and mins and TFL and glutes in our workouts a lot. They're our stabilizers. And now I'm gonna shift forward and back with my pelvis. So that's why I like to get these. It's still tender. It's just a little bit less on a bunch of nerves. Now I'm gonna stay slightly open. So my hips are slightly pointed to the ceiling versus down. Now I'm gonna roll up to the top of my pelvis and back down. So this is all on the side of the hip, that SAS, so between the hip bone and the pelvic crest, kind of that whole side here on that bottom. And then I'm gonna stay there and I'm gonna give a little span. This is where I get a lot tender from Pilates stuff and bar stuff. Breathe. And then I'm gonna get up there. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, just in case you missed it. Where our hip hinges, that greater trochanter and the pelvic crest, that whole side. So I'm switching sides. And I'm gonna put that roller right above that hip bone. My top leg comes forward, my bottom leg is bent. I'm gonna stay slightly tipped over so I get that front pocket tensor fascial lata, TFL muscle. And I'm rolling there nice and slow. And then I'm gonna give it a little shift forward and back. So my pelvis just rocks forward and back. And then hold it open. So a little bit tilted upright. And now we're gonna roll up to the top of the pelvis. Breathe. This one's always really tender for me. And then hold and give it that little span. And then release that. So now I got the front, the back, the in and outer side of those thigh muscles. So there's our lower part. Now I'm gonna move this right onto kind of the big glute. It's also gonna get into your piriformis. I'm gonna do two options for that today. So I'm gonna sit my right hip or right cheek on the foam roller. It's kind of in the center of this one. If you have a long foam roller, you just gotta sit where you can get your hands off of there. My right leg, the ankle is going on my other knee. So I'm on my right cheek and my right foot is up. Then I'm gonna drop my right knee towards the floor a little bit. So that, now I should feel I'm right by that sacrum and that hip bone, kind of right between it. And then I'm gonna roll up and down a little bit here. So this is gonna, if we take that pause, it gets a little pressure, gets the muscle to relax so we can get a little deeper. And again, just a few inches up and down that glute. And then when I find that spot, I'm gonna give it that same little windshield wiper across. And then I'm gonna hold it down and I'm gonna roll up higher, up to my hip bone, top of my pelvis and back. That's where the glutes attach, way up high, like the top of your jeans pocket versus the bottom. And then hold it and give it a little span or shift across. Nice, all right, other cheek. So now my left buttock is in that middle of the roller. My left knee is on top. So again, the cheek I'm on is the foot that's up. And then I drop the knee of that side to the floor. And then I'm gonna roll just a few inches up and down between the sacrum and the side of the pelvis. You'll feel that you're right on the edge of that bone where those glutes come down and attach. The piriformis is in there by being in this figure 4. We've put that on a stretched position, so we're getting in there. And then we span across it, a little windshield wiper, shifting across with the pelvis. And then I'm gonna stay open and I'm gonna roll up to the top and back towards the middle. Breathing in and out. I hope you're all doing okay again and doing this with me. And then find that spot and give it that little shift. Woo. You know how much you work your glutes? I hope you use them. If not, you're going into your back with some of your exercise. And then we're gonna get off of there. All right, so I'm gonna get the little ball again. So you have your lacrosse ball, your myofascial ball, tennis ball. We're gonna sit this in the middle like of our hip. So I'm where my hip sits bone and my pelvis, I'm gonna think back pocket if I had jeans on, right? So I'm gonna sit kind of in the middle of that back pocket. And I'm just gonna breathe for a second and try to sink in there so those big glute muscles relax and I can get a little deeper. I'm gonna lift and lower my whole leg. We call it a toe tap, but it's the whole thigh moving. It puts more pressure in there. Now hold it here, and we're gonna open and close. Whew. So now we're opening and closing that door, externally rotating. Now I'm gonna keep that knee in towards the midline, like you're crossing your legs a little bit. And then give me a little pivot or a little circle. Now that muscle's on a full stretch. Okay, and get off of there. Sorry if I made any faces. Now the ball's going to the left side, or the other side, doesn't matter if you do left and right, as long as you do both sides. I'm gonna sit my cheek in the middle of it, and I'm gonna breathe for a second to try to sink in there. And then I'm gonna lift and lower the other leg, the one that the same side that the ball's under, y'all. And then I'm gonna hold that foot on the floor, and I'm gonna open and close, kind of like a little clamshell or a little butterfly wings. And when I finish this one, I'm gonna keep that knee in, kind of cross the midline so my knees are really close together, and I'm gonna make a little circle or a little pivot. And this should feel kind of, hurts so goodish. And then release. All right, there's our glutes and piriformis. So really you've done that whole lower body, everything from the hips down. I'm gonna go into the psoas now. The psoas is our deepest hip flexor. It's in the abdominal area, not the actual leg. So if you find your belly button and your hip bone, the ball's gonna go halfway between there. So if I had my thumb on my belly button and my pinky finger towards my hip bone, where your palm would be. So a diagonal line halfway between there, okay? So this one is gonna go prone or on my belly, and I'm gonna start with it on my right side. So I'm gonna put that ball there and my hands by my side, and I'm just gonna breathe and try to sink into that. So to increase this, I can come up into a little cobra from yoga or swan from Pilates, and that puts a little more pressure. You can stick with either of those two things, or there's a little more. We can lift up, shift forward an inch, and lift the back leg, which puts it on a big stretch, and then release it. Just two more. So I'm going to do a little lift, shift, and extend that back leg, and then release it all down. So I'm gonna swan, shift, and lift, and then get off of there. I'm taking the ball, And I'm gonna put it in the same place on the left side. So find your belly button and your hip bone and kind of halfway between there. Again, this wouldn't be appropriate if you've got any kind of abdominal issues, surgeries, pregnancy, etc. But if you can, lay on there, relax into it for a minute, breathe. All right, so from here, we're gonna just do that little swan and put a little extra pressure and then release it down. All right, now I'm gonna swan and I'm gonna lift that back leg. And again, that may be enough, or I can swan, shift an inch and lift. Whew, this side's more tender. And release. Swan, shift an inch and lift. And back, last time, I'm gonna swan, I'm gonna shift and lift, which really sinks deeper into that abdominal area. And then I'm gonna get off of there. All right, so there's the psoas. Now we got all those things that adjust the lower body. So we're gonna go into some upper body. While I have the ball in my hand, I'm gonna go ahead and do my pec. So if I take the ball out in my one hand and bring it into that same side. So guys, I wanna be on my tendons here, not on the breast tissue. Guys or gals, make sure you're up kind of higher and wider than you might think. So you should feel the tendon. So those of you who do Pilates, it's that hug a tree muscle area on those pecs. A little bit of anterior, some other muscles there too. And then we just give it a little roll with as much pressure as you can tolerate. If you don't have a ball, the heel of your hand works as well. Find that spot and then we give it a little span up and down. This is my little chicken dance, polka dance, chicken dance wings. And then I'm gonna hold it and then we're gonna press down into an angle, down into an angle, down into an angle. So now we're getting that deeper pressure there. Yeah. All right, same thing, other side. So take it out to the side first and bring it in. That helps me find this box. If you go across, you tend to miss a little more. So straight in, hands there. And then we're gonna roll it on that again. Hug a tree muscle, your pec, your chest fly muscle. And we're gonna give it a little circle and a little circle. Oh, I'm sweating. And then we're gonna hold it and then we're gonna give it the little span. As much pressure as you can tolerate there, y'all. Please breathe on this one. And then hold. Now we press down and out. Down and out. Breathing. And release that. Okay, so then we got the pec. Now we're gonna go back to the roller and do our thoracic spine. So you guys, I don't roll the lumbar spine. There's floating ribs there and the spine's not really as braced because the ribs aren't there. On our thoracic spine, our rib cage helps give us some support. I don't want you to hurt your back or any disc issues. So I'm gonna put the roller right below my shoulder blades. So kind of where your puller heart rate monitor, chest strap would go. So I'm gonna put that roller right there. And then my hands behind my head. And I'm gonna pull my elbows slightly forward. By pulling them forward, that opens up the shoulder blade space. And I'm gonna roll halfway up my spine between my shoulder blades and then back. Nice and slow again. Just a little bit up and a little bit down. Staying between the shoulder blades, so those elbows forward help me get that muscles all attached by the spine. And then I'm gonna lower my hips. You can keep them up, but we're gonna do a little side bend, just twice to each side right there. Oh, that feels so good. Now I'm gonna pull my elbows forward again, and I'm gonna roll up to the top of my shoulder blades. You guys, just to those spine of the scapula or the ridge at the top of your shoulder blades so that you don't risk going onto your neck. We never wanna roll on the cervical spine. We don't wanna cause any injuries, so stay off of there, but get up to the top of the shoulder blades. Those rhomboids and traps all attach in there. Now hold it there and then give it 2 little side bends each way. And then release that. All right, I'm gonna go into the lat now. So if you reach your hand forward, like protract there, and you find the soft tissue where your armpit kind of starts to separate, that's going where the lat is. So I'm gonna put the roller under that arm and try to get it just off of the rib cage, right there where it starts. My top hand is up. Now I'm gonna use my hand on the roller and I'm gonna move the roller a couple inches. And I can push into the roller to take some of my weight off. And this is just a couple inches, trying to find the muscle and not just the bones. And then I'm gonna hold it there. And I'm gonna pull my hand up and down, one more time. Now I'm gonna roll a little higher, closer to the armpit. And again, on that lat. It's our swimming muscle, it's our pull down muscle. It's a big muscle. And then we hold it. Now I'm gonna go palm down to palm up as I sweep it, because that muscle internally rotates our shoulder as well. Last time. And I'm gonna release that. I'm gonna do the same thing facing the other way, so, or the other side. I'm gonna keep facing you. You could always just roll over and listen to me as well. So finding that armpit muscle area, again, that lat, and I'm gonna find just off of those bones. My top hand on the roller is gonna do the moving. So I'm not trying to put all my body weight on this. And it's just small. And then I find that spot, and then staying palm up, I'm gonna go thumb to the ear, pinky finger to the roller. And I'm gonna hold it, and I'm gonna roll a little higher, trying to go a little more into that armpit. You'll find that spot where it attaches underneath there. Breathe. And then find that spot. Now we go palm down as my thumb comes to the roller and my thumb comes to the ear. Palm down, palm up, palm down, palm up. Last time. And we release that. All right, y'all. So there is all of the major muscle groups going on. I'm going to do a little neck release if this is appropriate for you. If you have the grid roller, these little squares work pretty good. If not, a regular roller works as well. Also, if you had 2 tennis balls or 2 lacrosse balls tied together, or something that's a little cervical release. So with this one, I'm going to lay back, and I want to find this occipital bone. So those are the bones at the base of your skull. If you find them, they're kind of equal to where your ear hole is, but they're on your head. So I'm not on my neck, I'm on my head. And I'm going to turn my head a little bit to one side and find just that one little occipital bone. A bunch of our neck muscles attached there. And then I'm going to nod my head yes. So I'm just putting a little pressure on that occipital bone. So I'm not going fast, just a little nod. And then I'm going to come back to center. And then go to the other side. Again, trying to find that little bone, and then nod my head yes. And then come to center. And I'm just going to breathe there for a second. And then sitting up. So y'all, that is a myofascial release for most of the body. If you have some tightness from elevating your shoulders up from stress, or being on the computer or steering wheels, sometimes you get some tightness in that upper levator scapular muscle, when that hikes your shoulder blade up. So another release I like to do here, it's a bonus one if you want. If you found like you were patting yourself on the back right there, you can do this against the wall or laying on the floor as well. It's more pressure laying on the floor. I'm gonna do it on the mat because I'll be off camera if I do it the other way. So I'm gonna put that ball here. This is our last release, okay? I'm gonna lay down, and that roller is just above my shoulder blade. I'm gonna reach that same side hand to the sky. And I'm gonna give it a little protract, retract, or shoulder blades come apart from the spine and towards the spine. And then I'm gonna give it a little up and down. I promise we're done in like 1 more minute. Whew. All right, I'm gonna take that same ball and put it on the other side, right above my shoulder blade. I realize I switched sides on this, so it's right above that shoulder blade. Usually people have a trigger point there, and this is using TriggerPoint products to do a little release. And I'm gonna protract, retract, open and close the shoulder blades. Then I'm gonna hold it, and if it works for you, that little scissor of the arms gets it a little bit deeper. All right, last time. And then all the way up. So you guys, that was about, looking at my clock, about 35 minutes and got the full body release. If you joined me, I hope you feel better than when you started. This video should be live recorded on Facebook Live, that you could rewatch it if you need to do it again. So if you have any questions, feel free to put some in the comments for me, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. Hope you all have a great day, and talk to you next time.